Did Indian hackers install spyware on world leaders and other top officials at the behest of different governments and other organizations? A sensational story published in the UK's Sunday Times newspaper is making headlines. The story claims that an India-based computer hacking gang targeted critics firstly of the Qatar World Cup as well as over 100 others for different clients. The Qatari government has strongly denied the report, calling it patently false and without merit. The newspaper alleged that the hacking was masterminded by a 31-year-old accountancy firm employee who works in Gurgaon. He has also denied that he is involved. The paper says the hackers allegedly ensnared their targets using phishing techniques to gain access to their email inboxes, sometimes also deploying malicious software to take control of their computer cameras and microphones. Hacking attacks, however, were not limited to those with an interest in the World Cup in Qatar only. In total, more than 100 victims had their private email accounts targeted by the gang on behalf of investigators working for autocratic states, as the newspaper puts it, amongst others. Well, we've seen this controversy play out before, first with Pegasus, now with this story. We've got two experts joining us tonight, Nikhil Pawar, the founder of Media Nama, and Jitin Jain, cybersecurity expert, both with us. Thank you very much to both of you for joining us. Nikhil Pawar, to you first. What do you make of this story?
The problem with cybersecurity, Nidhi, often is that it's very difficult to prove and attribute which action has been taken by whom. And even with, it's something that we struggle with, even with the Kudankulam nuclear power plant cyber attacks that took place a few years ago. But it's not inconceivable. Technology is a skill set. There are ethical hackers who try and break systems in order to improve them. There are unethical hackers who spy and try and break systems in the behest of others, of a payment for others, or even just for fun, because they want to either make money or serve someone else. Once you have that skill set, you can decide whether you want to use it for good or for bad. And there are people who are willing to pay for such, kind of skill set across the world as more and more people come online, and as this becomes a critical, the internet, mobile devices become a critical part of everyday life. No one knows what they've actually been able to access, what they've been able to take out of devices, if they have, and how this has been used. But also remember that just as easily as it is to infiltrate devices, there are also skill sets and software which enable people to plant information on devices, and we've seen that in the past with the Bhima Koregaon case also. Yeah. So look, this is blowing up globally. It's not surprising. Yeah. And I think it's just that more and more instances like these are just making the headlines now. We'll see. This is a slippery slope. This is going to go downhill from here. We'll see more and more instances in the future. I'm not surprised. Yeah,
Jitin Jain, would you agree with that? I mean, we had the whole controversy over Pegasus. The Supreme Court formed a committee to look at that, and there have been sort of mixed feedback on how that played out. But we know that spyware exists, and today, this newspaper report is talking about hundreds of people's private details being hacked, possibly spyware, their microphones turned on, their cameras turned on. And you're increasingly, as Nikhil Pawar says, hearing more and more about this.
Nidhi, if you look at the reportage of last 3 years, I think there are multiple stories which have alleged that Indian hacker groups have been involved in hack for hire operations. We have also seen almost at least 50 stories that how Indian power grids have been hacked, Indian systems have been hacked, DRDO was hacked. I think there are three fundamental issues here. On the one side, we've been seeing stories of government systems, private companies getting hacked. And the sole reason what is attributed to those hacks is that we lack our cybersecurity posture. We do not have enough cybersecurity skilled manpower available in India. Now, on the other side, what we are seeing now, there are reportages which are suggesting that India probably is the home to one of the best hackers, and every agencies across West is out there to hire them for hack. So I think both realities can be true, and if they are, then I think we have a serious issue to introspect that our complete cybersecurity ecosystem is broken, where we are not able to successfully deploy skilled manpower for the national purpose and the security use, and that skilled manpower is drifting away towards crime and anti-society operations. Now, second issue, while we need to fix this ecosystem, we also have to be very, very careful that we should not throw the baby with the bathtub by carrying away with this reportage, because these are mere allegations. Look, who is known in last 3 years to be the biggest state-sponsored hacking regime in the world? North Korea. hacking millions of crypto exchange dollars from crypto exchanges, stealing secrets from companies like Sony in America. Then we have got NATO allies like Turkey, known to be home of one of the best hackers. Then we have seen Russia, the state of one of the most notorious cyber criminals in the last 10 years, and they are on the Security Council,
absolutely.
by the UN Security Council.
And I think we have to tread carefully.
We have the China, the most rogue element, and we have the biggest surveillance empire in the human history, America, which had 15,000 hackers. So I think, and UK, which is the home of these companies in this report, which they are alleging that they were working for UK companies. So I think, see, it is not only in India, it is happening everywhere. In the world.
Interestingly, the report also claims that Indian spy agencies asked for the accounts and the devices of Pakistani politicians to be hacked as well. This is what they claim.
To be very honest, I am very fine with that. Every country should deploy the best possible surveillance manpower against adversaries. But, however, I think we have to protect our society.
I think that's where we enter a slippery slope, right, Nikhil? I mean,
yes. This political surveillance, the problem is not
it's not going to be limited to political opponents. That's the issue.
The problem.
So, Nikhil Pahwa, how do people protect themselves? Very simply, can you protect yourself from this? Also, I think a lot of folks will turn around and say, this is, well, I'm just someone who's, putting my head down, doing my work. Why would someone be interested in my device? What is your advice to them, to those who think it will not happen to them, firstly?
Look, Nidhi, it's not the technical protections that are on your device that protect you, but it's how you behave with your device, your operational security practices that help you. And quite often that means shutting yourself out from a lot of the activities that you might be doing online otherwise. So it's not feasible. Look, what we are in the middle of is an arms race, and citizens will always remain vulnerable, and people will always have tools to exploit them to access their devices, and governments also have that power. They also have that skill set. They're hiring that skill set, and I disagree with Jitin on one part. We shouldn't be fine with it. I mean, there needs to be a global solution. This is an arms race, and people are getting exploited. Human rights are being violated across the globe because this is a form of warfare. And so we need to look at disarmament in some shape or form. And I know that's a very, very difficult ask, but we've managed that to quite an extent with nuclear arms, right?
Right.
And even today, there are conversations that are happening at the United Nations level. I participated in something a few years ago before the pandemic. There is another process that has just begun where they're looking at, for example, that countries should not sell cyber weapons to other countries to launch such attacks. The other is that countries should not allow the usage of their jurisdiction on their territory to launch such attacks. So there are norms that are being debated and discussed. And as the UN starts prioritizing digital, which it has, you might see an outcome which is a political solution to this problem, because I don't think there's a security or a cyber security or a technical solution.
I think that's important. That's an important point. So can I ask
the other one last bit?
Yeah.
One of the most difficult aspects to deal with this, if you look at these hackers, is jurisdiction.
Yes.
If an Indian contractor was hired to commit a crime in the UK, can they be prosecuted here? But they haven't committed a crime here, right?
Yeah.
So these jurisdiction issues are also have to be resolved globally. Very difficult. It's going to take a few years to resolve this. But until then, I think we're all at risk.
And Jitin Jain, quickly then, last word to you. Given that we are all at risk, which is very obvious, what is the basic thing that people can do even within this risk-filled environment to protect themselves?
Maybe I agree with everything except on one point with Nikhil, that look, if US is fine with carrying out surveillance across the world, so is China and Russia. When they do it, they call it statecraft. And when we do it, they call it hack for hire against Pakistan. I think every agency has to do it for the security of their state. Otherwise, you will not be able to kill Osama bin Laden, or the missile will not land without technical surveillance of the Al Jarawadi's balcony. So I think we need that. But the problem here is the political surveillance and the lack of integrity of our agencies and lack of completely oversight.
Yeah.
Maybe a judicial oversight or parliamentary oversight. I think we have to fix that problem. And the second problem is, Nidhi, we are the home to the biggest technology population in the world. So we are transforming into a cyber security setup from that IT, outsourcing manpower. And that is why we are home to a lot of technical manpower, and our population is drifting away towards crime. So the first thing what we have to do, we have to have structured cybersecurity education. The cybersecurity as a profession has to be licensed now, like medical fields or, any other profession or lawyers you go to. It cannot be free for all that everybody is carrying out this hack for hire operations. So we have to license it. Third, I think we have to have some sort of oversight over our security agencies so that this question of integrity or political bias or political neutrality is done away with.
I think that's an important point.
That ecosystem problem.
In fact, something that some MPs in Parliament have been pushing for a long time. I remember Manish Tiwari had put a private member's bill many years ago, but nobody wants intelligence agencies to come under parliamentary scrutiny, certainly. Thank you, Nikhil Pava. Thank you, Jitin Jain, for joining us on that story this evening. Thanks very much.